Back to another video. We're going to be going over a bunch of budget beasts when it comes to UFC cards. For example, UFC, I just want to talk about this. There's obviously a website you can go look at who have UFC people you should buy, like based off like rankings, all that deal, like how hard it is to upgrade them. But, I've made a lot off UFC, as you can see. Like, I've had Vicente Luque for 6 months, and he's made me about 6,000 or 4,000. Obviously, like not all that's coming from a 6x, but on a like year-to-year basis, I'd make over 12K on a 6x. So it's very good, and you can get 10 of those. And the goal with all UFC cards is to get them to 6x. That's just the truth, because the caps suck on UFC. They make them really hard to deal with. Like, I think a 2.5 is 12K cap, and a 4x is 24K. Now, realistically, if that's a really good fighter like Max Holloway or something, and you had a 4x, you could cap that out in like a year and a half with Max Holloway, which I know seems like a long time, but overall it's really not. So I'm going to be going over some guys who I would be interested in investing in if I was you, and potentially making my way up, trying to get them better. Also, these guys have decent amount of fights in the UFC or are younger for the most part. Starting off with Tatsuro Taira, he is a flyweight. He is not 16-0. This app just sucks. For some reason they put him at 16-0. He lost his last fight to Brandon Royval, who's very good, raw dog himself. And but he's really good, dude. This kid's so young. He's like 23, and he's already a top 5 flyweight in the world in the UFC. And he's gonna be fighting Amir Albazi, which is number 3 ranked or 4 ranked guy right now. So he's still gonna get, like, even though he lost his last fight, they're still letting him fight up. So I think he'll probably win that match. And the fight against Brandon Royval is really close. So he's taken about a year, not a year off, but he's taken like about 7-8 months off. So he was fighting pretty actively. He fought December, June, and October, so that's about 3 fights in the span of like eight-ish months. And he just like was fighting quite a bit. Obviously, a pretty big name for Japanese fans and stuff like that. So he's a little harder to upgrade, but overall, I think if you want a guy who's going to be a future champion, who's not going to be like insanely hard to upgrade, I think Tatsuro Taira's a guy. Next up is Joshua Van. Also, Joshua Van, very young. He's 23. Tatsuro Taira is 25, so I had that mixed up. But Joshua Van's very good as well. Obviously, he has a lot more hype around him right now than a guy like Tatsuro Taira. But I could see that all crumbling in his next match, because I could realistically see him just get destroyed, choked out by Pantoja, and lose a lot of hype. Obviously, up until that fight, his card value is going to be worth a lot, but he's so young, he has so many fights in the UFC. This is a guy who becomes champion. If he becomes champion somehow, he'll be like the youngest champion of all time, with like John Jones up there. And he already has a lot of fights, decent amount for being 23 in the UFC, as you can see. Not going to make you an insane amount of racks, but if you're someone who has a lot of racks and you just want to grind someone who's going to be good for a long time, Joshua Van is that guy. He's very much worth it. As you can see, that guy's already made almost 5,000 racks off him as a 6x in 5 months of having the card, which is very good for having such little fights. Obviously, has a few KOs. He has 2 KOs, a lot of decision wins, but it's pretty good. That's a little bit harder. There's also Tim Elliott at Flyweight. Um, there's Leonard Kavanaugh. He's coming up. That guy has like 1 fight in the UFC, but he's gonna be champ one day. He's so fucking good. So that's another guy. There's a lot of actually like pretty decent like up and comers for flyweight. If you want to just like look them up, there's a pretty good amount of them. Next up is we're gonna go to light heavyweight. We got Alonzo Menafield. This guy's 37, but he's fighting quite a bit. He fought in February and he fought in June of this year. So won his last 2 fights. He fraud checked Omar Sy. Do I even think he won this fight? I'm not even really sure he won this fight. Like, you can see like the first round, Umar Sy outstruck him big time, and there's no control time. And Alonzo Menafield landed like less headshots, body shots, leg kicks than Umar Sy. Umar Sy was just so boring that I think they just rigged it for Alonzo Menafield, which is kind of weird because Alonzo Menafield is 37, Umar Sy is very young, and he's an up-and-comer who's like a top 2 prospect in the division. So right now, light heavyweight's just so buns, but he also beat Julius Walker by split decision. I don't really know. I think Julius Walker, I was watching this fight. I almost thought Julius Walker should have won this. I think he should have won the first round. Um, he had way more control time, way more shots. I think obviously, like it depends how you value like your shots, but body to head, very big difference in the first round and all that. But I still think I think they were hoeing Julius Walker in this fight. I'll just say that and then also he fought Ozame, however you say his last name. This guy's super good. He's undefeated. If that's another guy I'd think about buying if I were you. He doesn't fight a super ton amount, but he's probably one of the best light heavyweights in the world. As you can see, his last two fights, KOs against pretty decent competition. Unanimous decision against Justin Jacoby. He doesn't really get knocked out like that. And then the three fights before that, he's just so inactive in the UFC. It's ridiculous. If he's more active, he'd be champ by now, honestly. And then Carlos Alberg's a guy who, if you want to, he doesn't even have insane amount of hype right now, even though he's already a top 3 ranked light heavyweight. He's pretty good. But Alonzo Menafield has quite a bit of KO wins, as you can see. His first 5 fights in the UFC, all by KO. So, a lot of racks you can make off a guy like this. And we can go look at his, leaderboard. As you can see, doesn't have a ton of card holders. Less than 9, actually. And you can see here, 1 year, this guy's made about 6,000 racks. And he's still active. I mean, 37. I wouldn't be surprised if the UFC matched him up against an up-and-comer American for, like, the UFC White House event. I think he still has, like, 4 more fights in him, so it's not a bad guy to get. Next guy I want to talk about is Paul Craig. Paul Craig, if you've been watching UFC, you know Paul Craig. This guy's been around for a while. He's fought at middleweight, fought at light heavyweight. He beat Magomed Ankalaev at one point in his career. But he's on a pretty bad streak right now. But the reason I bring him up is because he's not, like, super hyped up, right? Like, no one gives a fuck about Paul Craig, right? As you can see, this guy, 8 months ago, 6Xs. So you're not even going to have to compete with these guys who already have 6X Paul Craig. You don't have to worry about, upgrading. Those guys upgrading because they already capped him out. They don't have to upgrade Paul Craig anymore. And as you can see, already has so many fights in the UFC all time. So a lot of days to claim. But the reason I want to bring up Paul Craig is this guy just signed a new 5-fight contract. And he's on like a 3-fight losing streak. Obviously against pretty decent competition. Brendan Allen's pretty good. Kyle Bahia was already like a top 3 middleweight in the world. Bo Nickel, that was an awful fight. And then this last one against Rodfololo, or how you say his name, was BS. They both did some BS. One pretended to be hurt, and the other one did something illegal, which was Paul Craig. So they gave him a 5-fight contract. He's gonna fight again soon. So it is what it is. Next guy I want to talk about is Kennedy Nzechukwu. Right here, this guy's fighting at heavyweight now. He used to fight at light heavyweight, as you can see. Almost all his wins, come by knockout in the UFC or some sort of finish. He doesn't really have. I don't think he has a single. Well, he has like 2 decision wins, but 2 or 3. But yeah, I don't know how hyped up Kennedy is. Like, I think he's actually pretty good at heavyweight just because he's so athletic and has so much power. But yeah, like, this guy is pretty decent. Not a ton of competition. He fights this weekend at the time of me making this video at UFC Nashville. So, not a bad guy. If you could grind him up a little bit, not a bad one to get. I just think I like Kennedy Nzechukwu. He's going to get a lot of KO wins in his career at heavyweight. And heavyweight is such a weak division, and he likes to fight quite a bit. He fought at UFC 308, 310. He's fighting now, and he fought even, I think 2 more times. I think he fought 4 times last year, so not a bad one. Next guy we have is Jake Matthews. This guy also fights this week at UFC Nashville. Jake Matthews is only 32, which is crazy. So not 32, 30. And he has a lot of fights in the UFC, as you can see right here. A lot of submission wins, some KO wins. Fought Kevin Lee at one point in his career, which is so long ago. He's been around. He fought Diego Sanchez. He lost to Sean Brady. Not a bad loss. He lost to Michael Morales. Not a bad loss. He fights some trash cans, and then he fights some good fighters and gets beat by the good fighters. So this is a guy who I think is very much worth buying and upgrading if you want to invest your time into that. That's something I would do. Next up, for another guy I really like Kelvin Gastelum. This guy he has a lot of fights in his career. Obviously, 51 card holders. It's less than that because some people sell their cards off. If you go through here and look at this, it's much less than the amount you actually think. As you can see right here, 1 year, 8,700. He makes more than that. He makes more like 12K, I think, for a year. But Kelvin Gastelum has a lot of fights. He's still fighting, so not a bad one to go ahead and get. Next guy I want to talk about is Drew Dober. Been around for a while. He's pretty old. He's like 36 or something like that. But they've been giving him like really hard competition his last few fights. He fought Manel Torres, who's a really good up and coming 155er, and then he also fought John Silva, who literally beat him on a week's notice. He fought the week before at UFC 303 or 302. I think it was 303, and then he fought the next week at UFC Denver and just killed Drew Dober with elbows. So he's taken a lot of damage in his last two fights. I don't know how much longer his career is going to go for, but he has a decent amount of fights in his career. I mean, this guy fought Juanito Moicano. He fought Islam Makhachev. He's fought quite a bit of guys. He's fought, he beat Terrence McKinney. So, I mean, beat Bobby Green. He gets knockout wins and stuff, so it's not a bad one to go ahead and get. And I think this is a decent one. I don't think he's going to be super hard to trade for. I trade Drew Dober cards all the time. Every time I pull him, I'm trading them. And a lot of 6Xs. A lot of people have 6X'd him. So, I don't think this is the worst buy to do. And he's still fighting. He fights. He has a fight lined up for later this year, I believe. So, yeah. Next guy we have is Diego Ferreira. Pretty old. Been around. Just lost to Grant Dawson, who is another guy I want to talk about real quick. Grant Dawson is so fucking boring. I hate Grant Dawson. I hate that he's in the UFC. I hate that he's decently young. And I hate that he's even ranked at lightweight. Because no one even wants to fight this guy because his fighting style is the most boring thing in the world. He's a chain wrestler, so he just wrestles you to the ground. And the only way he wins is either by decision, based off control time, laning volume, and then he'll sometimes knock a guy out, but it's more of a KO, a TKO, where he gets ground and pound. It works out for him sometimes. He got knocked out by Bobby Green, but that's just because he got caught. Other than that, he's won I think he's won every fight in the UFC, other than that one fight he lost. It's really good. You can't really, like, Grant Dawson doesn't lose, so I don't know how far he's going to go in his career, but yeah, he's relatively young. I just feel like that the UFC hates him, and I hate him too, so screw him. But Diego Ferreira, pretty easy guy to upgrade. Only like 5 card holders, as you can see. This guy's made almost 6,000 in 7 months off of Diego Ferreira, so that's another 5 months of claims, and I doubt he got him to a 6X that quick, so not a bad one at all to get. The next one I want to go over is Jared Gordon. I believe, isn't Jared Gordon? Yeah. Jared Gordon is a lightweight. He got robbed against Paddy Pimblett. He should have won that fight. And they just rigged that fight for Paddy Pimblett. It is what it is. But you can see here, he won his last fight against Moises, or however you say his name. Another decent one to actually buy. This guy has a lot of fights. Or not a lot of fights, but I want to actually buy him. But he's not hard to upgrade. But Jared Gordon's actually pretty good. He's starting to show some more power later in his career, which is kind of cool to see. As you can see, his first, stint, like, he lost to Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira knocked him the fuck out. Grant Dawson submitted him, but this Paddy Pimblett fight, man, Jared Gordon's a lot better than, like, his record shows. He won this fight. Like, I don't know how a judge even gave him the third round based off takedowns, control time, all that. Like, Paddy Pimblett landed 6 shots compared to 4 for 4 from Jared Gordon. But Jared Gordon just wrestled him the entire round, and, like, I don't know how you give him that. And then the first round as well, Jared Gordon outstruck him. More headshots, more body shots. Paddy Pimblett just had all the leg shots. I don't get how he even won this fight. I think you have an argument that Jared Gordon won every single round. If you've ever watched this fight back, I don't know how Paddy Pimblett got the win. But Jared Gordon's much better than his record shows. And here's this Nazart. Is this not a bad fighter. I don't know how he goes these split decisions against Esteban Ribovic and Jared Gordon. Like, Esteban Ribovic, if you guys don't know, is a super good fighter. This guy had that crazy head kick or whatever against Terrence McKinney at UFC Kansas, or not Kansas, but St. Louis. He beat Daniel Zellhuber, who I think is really good. He fights very soon. He fights at UFC 318 against Michael Johnson. He's on the main card, so if you guys watch that, you'll see him. But Esteban Rivovich, I just kind of want to talk about him. He's pretty good. He's a guy I think a lot of, and then I also think a lot of Daniel Zellhuber, who he sadly, that was such a good fight. This is such a good fight. I hate that they made them fight each other, but Daniel Zellhuber is also a very good fighter as well. Both these guys being lightweights. Lightweight is such a stacked, like, up-and-comer division. But Jared Gordon's a guy I just wanted to talk about for that reason. Jared Cannonier is also pretty good if you guys know who Jared Cannonier is. Next up, we have Dan 50K Ige. Dan Ige has been around, still fighting. Finds ways to win. He's a ranked fighter. This fight against Lerone Murphy, he made it really competitive. He kind of dominated him the first round, almost knocked him out. As you can see, got the knockdown. He kind of got close to getting the finish. Lerone Murphy's just got a steel chin. That's the issue. And he definitely lost the second round. And the third round he just kind of fell apart. But I think actually the second round, I remember watching this and I thought he won the second round as well. I thought maybe they would give him a 10-8, the first round for the knockdown, but they didn't. It's just, I remember Murphy got back up at one point and started landing on some shots. I think he just gassed himself out too early and thought he won. And then this last fight against Sean Woodson was stupid. He didn't even knock him down. They just thought he knocked him down and they ended the fight. It's a very stupid fight. But Sean Woodson deserves that because he's 6'2" fighting at 145. Next up, we have the Diego Lopez fight. He almost won this on short notice. If you watch the fight, he really did beat Diego Lopez in the third round. But I thought he was going to finish him at one point. And he just fights the best of the best guys. He's fighting Patricio Pitbull very soon on UFC 318. So he likes to fight pretty actively. It sucks that they try to keep him to the Apex a lot of the time, but they haven't done that as much lately. So I don't know. I think he hates fighting at the Apex Center. Next up, we have Vicente Luque, a guy I have 6X. A lot of fights in his UFC career. He's still fighting. I think he's got 3 or 4 more fights in him. Just lost to Kevin Hall, so he's not a ranked fighter anymore. So he should get some easier matchups. I mean, fighting guys like Joaquin Buckley, Kevin Holland, pretty hard fights. Jeff Neal is even a hard fight because that guy has so much knockout power. Thembo Garembo is supposed to be better than he's shown. I like Vicente Luque. Next up is probably the best guy on the list to invest in is Neil Magny. Neil Magny has a decent amount of card holders, 229 it says, but it's probably less than that because people have sold him off. As you can see, a lot of 6Xs. Reason being, he's very good. He has the most wins in welterweight history, more than George St. Pierre. He's 22 or 23. He fights soon. He fights in early August. So he's supposed to fight on UFC 318, but his opponent, which was Grant, what's his fucking name? The fucking guy who fought Kevin Holland last time. He's old. He's white. He's from Iceland. Grant Nelson. Yeah, Grant Nelson dropped out of that fight. I don't even know why they thought Grant Nelson was going to even fight in the United States. The guy never leaves Europe. He only fights once every 4 years at this point in his career, and he'll only fight if it's in England. So it was the dumbest thing they ever did, giving him Grant Nelson. And then another guy I want to do is just Song Yadong. Song Yadong. Yeah, Song Yadong is a pretty decent one, actually. He's really young still. Pretty good. I mean, he lost his fight to Peter Yan, but he still won one of the rounds. Just beat Henry Cejudo. He looked better than Henry Cejudo the entire fight. Beat Ricky Simone by KO. He's pretty good. Lost to Corey Sandhagen. But, he's lost to good guys, beat everyone else. He's still very young. It's just harder to upgrade him because he's Chinese. So you got all the Chinese people, which doesn't. I'm not trying to make it sound bad, but they're just diehard fans of him. There's not a great amount of Chinese talent in the UFC. On the men's side, obviously, is Zhang Weili, and then you have that Asian giant coming up, Miang or whatever his name is, the light heavyweight guy. He fights Johnny Walker soon. Shout out Johnny Walker, Blue Label. And yeah, that's a guy who's good, but I don't know how hard it is gonna be to upgrade him. And he just doesn't fight much, which is stupid. I think he should. He likes to fight like once a year. It's just because people are scared of him. At the end of the day, they don't want to fight him. Next up is Rob Font. This is one of the last guys on my list. Rob Font fights Raul Rojas Jr. in UFC Noche, which is coming up in like September or something like that, or end of August. I'm not sure, but he's gonna win that fight because there's no way Raul Rosas is gonna win that fight unless he wrestles him the entire match, which he could. He could do that. But Rob Font's such a like veteran. He's a good striker in the UFC. He has quite a bit of wins by KO earlier on in his career, about 6 of them total. So I like Rob Font. I think he's a pretty good buy and a guy you can root for in any fight. So don't hate that buy at all. And then one of the last one I have is actually a woman fighter. It's Jessica Andrade. Yeah, I think that's how you say her name. And she has so many fights in the UFC and a lot of finishes as well. As you can see, she got a knockout there. She's lost a lot. She's ranked and she's well known. I mean, she lost 1, 2. She's went 2-2, 2-3, 2-4, 2-5 in her last 7. So she still has name value and she's been around. I mean, I don't think the UFC is just gonna cut her anytime soon. They could do that, but I don't really think that's worth it because they just don't want to. They don't want to promote women fighters, which can you blame them? And then another one I want to talk about real quick is actually I want to talk about Denise Gomes, or how you say her dang name. This chick's really good, guys. I'm telling you, if you're trying to buy a chick fighter who's gonna go crazy in the UFC, Denise Gomes, man, she's insane. She can knock people out in the women's division. As you can see, her last fight, she killed Reed. Went to the second round, I think it was, right? Yeah. She wanted to show off her wrestling first round. She's really well rounded. She lost to Angela Hill the last time she lost a fight. Angela Hill's a vet, no shame in that. She wrestles people. And then she lost to that Loma girl who's not even really that good, but she's been figuring it out. I mean, they keep giving her some trash cans just because she can knock girls out. And the thing is, like, that's good for rax purposes. They just want to hype her up, and I think this is like one of the only like women fighters that they can kind of hype up besides like Wayne Kong and Natalia Silva and people like that, because there's just not a bunch of like good ones. You know what I mean? Coming up, they also have some they're working on that are jiu-jitsu specialists, but who cares about that? So yeah, that's gonna kind of do it for the end of the video. It's very hard. I mean, if you're someone who's gonna grind this out for like a long time, there's certain guys like Jacoby Smith right here, or Jacoby Smith or Jacoby Smith. Guys like these, like Gutierrez, who fights like in 2 weeks. Like these are some guys who are absolute killers, who don't have a bunch of fights yet in the UFC, but they're gonna be really good, like over the course of their career. It's just you're not gonna make nearly as much racks for that. If you're someone who's just purposely trying to make racks and you're trying to find a budget beast, go for those guys I talked about. Another one I want to talk about is like Hoynato Moicano. He's pretty good too for budget beast, but he's a little bit more hyped up now. I want to talk about him after he won that UFC Paris fight, but still, let me know what you think of this list in the comment section. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow my TikTok. That's the only way I make money is TikTok, guys. So if you go follow my TikTok, comment, like my videos, share, save them. Don't just go and blatantly do that, but anytime you see it on your For You page, or maybe I follow you. I only follow people back if they have football profile pics. If you have football profile pic, I'll follow you back. You see me on the friends tab. Do all that stuff. Don't just go to my account and start liking and sharing and all that stuff, because it doesn't help me out. So, yeah, peace.